Sisters and brothers, ladies and gentlemen, friends, neighbors, comrades, all citizens of the world, wherever you're going, wherever you've been, and wherever you're at, we welcome you to the Live from the Heartland show here on YouTube. New episodes air every Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time with individual interviews posted throughout the following week. I'm your host, Michael James, encouraging you to take the chain from the brain, to get back in the people's game, because it's time to move from the lower level to the higher, from the shallower to the deeper, from the one-sided to the many, and from the abstract to the concrete. So without further ado, let's get it on. I'm your host, Michael James. I'm here in Chicago. I'm up in the 49th Ward. And today we're going to welcome two guests. We're going to have my friend David Romo from El Paso, and he's going to come on and talk about the history of barbed wire and what's going on the border. And we're going to have a renowned bluesman, John Primer, coming on, telling us about things he's done and things that are coming up. So stay tuned here for the next hour. You're going to have a real good time. Some good things. The Pope, the Vatican have okayed the blessing of same-sex marriage. About time. I sometimes get an email and then I go to the website of an outfit called Spark of Genius. Good news for humankind. I've mentioned them before. Just reading their headlines this week, they report that Thailand is to legalize same-sex marriage. Somalia has secured $4.5 billion debt relief in a deal with international creditors. An historic ruling in Ecuador has returned the ownership of ancestral lands to the Secopo people. Colorado will become the first state to expand automatic voter registration to tribes. And the European Union has approved German state aid for early closures of coal plants. What a good idea. Some bad things. There is an ongoing rift in the Methodist Church, and apparently they're going to split up over LGBT, and that's too bad. And Jacobin Magazine, it's a socialist rag, reports that socialists in elected offices are standing up for Palestinian rights and demanding a ceasefire in Gaza. A handful of billionaires rejecting this progressive and popular agenda are trying hard to take down these anti-war lawmakers. As well, many conservative and centrist Democratic candidates are launching primary challenges against them, hoping to be the recipients of big campaign cash from the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC. Not a very good outfit. And similar pro-Israeli groups. AIPAC and its allies, like-minded organizations and big donors, told the New York Times that they are going to spend big, probably far more than in previous election cycles, to defeat anyone standing up for Palestine. Many of their targets are members of the Democratic Socialists of America. Okay, well, that's enough. That's some bad news, some good news first. A little quick thing, though, on sports. The Bears lost another one, which was just unbelievably hard to take. And the Bulls have been doing pretty well. And on the in memoriam front, two passings to relay. One would be the famed Chicago sculptor Richard Hunt, died at 88. A lot of public artworks. I started hearing about him in the early 60s when I was a young student at Lake Forest College. And closer to home, our friend Bob Heineman, the brother-in-law of our co-producer Katie Hogan, passed away this past week. He was a wonderful guy. You know, he was real active in the rights for all, labor organizing, the church, etc. Bob Heineman, you were a wonderful person, and we miss you. Okay, we're going to take a musical break, and we'll be right back with our first guest. Welcome back to Live from the Heartland. I'm Michael James, and I'm really honored to be able to bring on the show today uh, one of the finest guitar players ever,
Yeah.
one and only John Primer. Hello to you, John.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
We're good. One of the things that I heard about you always was that you were Muddy Waters' last guitar player. I'd love to
Indeed.
hear about that. I took a photograph of Muddy Waters and James Cotton back in 1962. Um, but I also know that you have a really rich musical history. I mean, you've been in a number of bands, you've been a lead guitar player in bands, you've fronted bands yourself. Why don't you fill us in a little bit about your career, how it got started, and where we're at?
Well, actually, how I got started with Muddies, I was a house band at Teresa Lounge with Junior Wells and all of for about 7 years, 7 nights a week, and um, so I played around down there every night and all every time I was down there. How I got down to Teresa was a friend of mine that was living around the corner from me, and then we went down to Junior Wells Club, to the club that Junior Wells was there. Uh, I guess he part owner, him, his wife or girlfriend. And so he's a young man that played around, played guitar and stuff since we kid all down on Maxwell Street. And so we lived around the corner, and I went around the corner to where they were rehearsing there one night. His name's Sam Good. And he took me down. He said, "Hey man, I know this band need a guitar player down on 39th Street." And I didn't know where he was talking about. And so when we got there with the place that what Junior Wells was there all the time, I mean, I think he part owner owned the club. So he said, "I know this band that need a guitar player, so I'm going down there tonight. You will go down, will take me down there." I had old car that looked like Beretta, old Chevy stick shift on the collar. He said,
Uh,
you take me down there, man. And see, I said, "Okay, cool, man." So him and I got together the night we went down there, and so enough with Junior Wells was there. They had two stages, and so and his band was playing called I think their name was the Hot Coke Unlimited or some band. And so, and which was John Watkins. And John Watkins was the guitar player with Willie Dixon, but not at the time. He had his own band. And so when I got there, Sam Good told John, said, "Hey man, I brought this guy down here, John Farmer, to you said you need a guitar player, so I brought him down here so you can check him out and see if you like him." He said, "Okay." And so he said, we talked a little bit, and he went up and played, and I went up, he called me up, and I played the whole set with him. When they took a break, we came down, and he said, "Hey man, you sound great, man. I like the way you play." So I tell you something, I got this gig down at a club called Teresa, never heard of it. All I've been to got Teresa Lounge. And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm quitting, so I want you to come down there and well, I'm leaving because I'm tired of that job, with the S word. I'm tired of that, and I don't want to curse. And no, it wasn't a curse. It's just shit. I said, y'all said this way. Y'all ain't gonna, you do it. I'm tired of this shit down there. So I didn't know why. So I tell you what, you meet me down here Sunday. I'm gonna be rehearsing down there, and so come down and rehearse with me, And so that Sunday I went down there, I caught the bus and rode down there. I wasn't driving the car then. So I caught the bus and rode and went down there. And so the bus put me off on 49, which Teresa Lounge was on 48th Street in Indiana, South Indiana. So bus dropped. I got off at the wrong stop. And I was afraid because I know it was during the time it was the game bang was down there, different game banging, and also the Blackstone Rangers. And so when that bus pulled off, I was nervous, having a guitar, man. I ran. When the bus took off, I took off too. By the time the bus made it to Teresa to there, but he didn't stop there. But by the time he got there, I was there too, running, keeping up with the bus. So now I go inside, I hear John Watkins rehearsing for sure enough down in the basement. And he was playing this music, whatever year that was. I forgot what year. Play that funky music, white boy. It was in the 70s, 71, some 273, some what year it was. So now I walks in there and there this old lady sitting at the bar, at the end of the bar, with her apron over and nodding and, like I was sleeping and a beer can. So right there I said, she must drink beer. So now I said, hey, excuse me, ma'am. I didn't know her name. I said, John Watkins told me to come down here and rehearse with him today. And he was playing that song. She said, there he is back there, just like that. So I started walking back there, and all of a sudden, a beer can came by me. Shoo! It hit the chairs and things. And when I got back there, John Watkins looked at me and pointed his fingers. I said, see, that's what I'm talking about. And I said to myself, man, why would you want me to work down here and that lady throwing them cans at him and stuff like that? But from then on, I said, well, got to take a chance. And so that Monday, he said, yes, be here Monday until Junior Wells. I sent you down to play in my place. I said, okay. So that Monday, I went down there, and Junior Wells was showing up. Junior Wells was there. And I was playing, sitting in with Sammy Lawhorn, which was my guitar player for 15 years in the band. And so when Junior heard me, I guess, then I said, hey, Junior, Don Walker told me to come down here and play in his place, take his place. And Junior looked at me and said, I don't care. And then from then on, I was the house band for 7 years with Junior Wells them down there.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Let
And
me
then
let me jump in and ask you a question. That first club you were talking about at 39th, what was the name of that? Was that the Blue Flame?
No, I think it's called Peyton Place or something like that.
I remember going to the Blue Flame at 39th and Drexel and seeing Paul Butterfield with some of Howlin' Wolf's guys.
Yeah, I never knew about that one. See, I didn't never go there. I heard of it, but this
Let
club
me
was
ask
on
you, John,
39th.
you came out of Camden, Mississippi.
Yeah.
What was life like there for you, and when did you pick up the guitar, and what brought you to Chicago?
Well, actually, when I learned how to play guitar, because I always wanted to be a guitar player, and I always liked the music. It was just a little kid. I'd be on the floor, and the books come from Alden and Seals. And the book, every magazine come every month, and get the book and just turn to the guitars and just stare at the guitar. I had to be about 4 or 5 years old, and at least I think I was younger than that, but I always admired the guitars, and so I learned how to play at 6 years old. I learned how to play a little guitar because my cousin had one down the road there, and I'd go down there. His dad knew how to play guitar, so I went. His last name was Primer too. But I would go down there and practice with him, and his oldest son could play a little bit, and I picked it up from him. And so from then on, I just started playing. About 6 years old, I could play. I wasn't all good, but I could play. I learned how to play, yeah. So I learned how to play guitar during that age. And so when I got about a year or so, maybe 6 years old, my mom, she left and came to Chicago. And so that hurt my feeling too, because she leaving me and my sister, just on the two of us. I'm the oldest. And I cried a lot, because she was gone. But all them years, when I got 18 years old, she told me, don't cry, because when you get old, 18 years old, I'll come back old enough, and then I come back down here and get you and your sister. And she did that. Yeah, when I got 18, that's how I made my way to Chicago. She was living in Chicago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's how I made my way to Chicago. And about me listening to all these blues records and the 78s and all the way down from the 78 all the way to the LP and the 45. I listened to all that, and I thought all those blues guys was gone. Muddy Water and all of them was gone. The blues heaven. When I got to Chicago, I found out all was still alive back then.
Yeah.
And so I thought, wow, this is a place I want to be. They was all alive, yeah. And so I was happy to know that they were still alive, because I studied all their music. They had from then on. I just kept studying their music, Hollywood, all those guys. I studied all music. I didn't just study blues. I played all kind of doo-wop, rock and roll, whatever I heard I liked, and I liked all music. I learned everything that I could, because you never know we know a guitar. They gonna need a guitar player, a rock and roll player, blues or something. Uh, I can play jazz too. I know how to play it. Yeah, if I need to play it. Yeah. So
Well,
that's
you had that long run at Teresa's Lounge with Junior Wells.
yeah.
You played with a lot of other people, though. You
Oh
played
yeah,
with Willie Dixon, Muddy Waters,
yeah,
Magic Slim. Tell
yeah.
us about some of your favorite experiences playing with other guys before you became a front man in your own band.
Um. Well, actually, I always been a front man in the band. I had the first band I was in called the Maintainers, and I was the lead guitar player. And the second band after them guys, they kind of faded out. A few of them passed away, the drummer. And I got with another band called the Brotherhood Band. I was the lead singer in that, the guitar player. So I always been out been a front man with never no problem. And down in Teresa, I was kind of the front man, because Sammy Longhorn would get drunk and then I got to play. But it'd be a lot of famous guys around that's sitting there, always hanging out there, and they always would take over if Sammy got drunk. He helped me out, yeah. I still was playing rhythm, but they would play the lead. Louis Miles, and all them guys would be down there. They was famous guitar players, so I learned from all those guys. Man. So it was a great experience for me to know this. And Willie Dixon used to come down there to listen and rocking and singing. I asked Sammy, who that big fat man there sitting over there dancing? I'm singing all the Muddy Water Hollywood tune that he done wrote. He said, oh, that's Willie Dixon. He worked for Chess Records. Yeah, he's real famous. So from then on, and then he came to ask me to go to 1979 to go down to Mexico City. With him, he needed a guitar player. I think his guitar player was had to quit or something, Mike Joe Young, whoever was the lead guitar. And so yeah, I said, yeah. He said, I need a guitar player to go to Mexico with me in 1979. I said, yeah. He said, would you be interested to go? I said, yes, sir. He said, you got a passport? I said, no. He said, I'll be at your house tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Take you down there, get your passport. You got the money? I said, no, I don't have much money. I don't make no money. Yeah, I make $15 a night on a weeknight and $20 a night on set. He said, don't worry about it. You can pay me later. And the passport cost about $80 back then. Yeah, in that time. So he picked me up and took me down there. And then after 2 or 3 days to wait, and then we go to Mexico, and all these people was on that show. Muddy Waters, Big Joe Williams, Larry Davis, Coco Taylor, they all was on that show. And so we played, Muddy was the headliner. Willie Dixon played for Muddy. And Muddy Water heard me play, and he asked Willie Dixon, who's that young man up there playing the guitar with you? And Muddy said, oh, that's John Primer. He worked on Teresa Junior Well. And Muddy said, that man know my music. And so when the old band quit 1980, he called Willie and asked, what was I at? They got in touch with me. They sent the guy down there and asked me if I want to play with Brother Mud, Mojo Buford. And I jumped for joy when he said that, man. Because I dreamed that when I was young in Mississippi that I played in Muddy's band. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
So I
that
did.
worked out. That's
It
great.
worked out. Yeah, it worked out. Yeah. Yeah.
So you got tell me a little bit about this movie that's coming out. I know on the 20th, people can get it online. Is it called Teardrops for Magic Slim?
Yeah, we did a CD live CD at Rosa Lounge, and matter of fact, and then we also did a video too with it. So it's coming out. I'm sure it is. So that CD is called because I played with Magic Slim 13 years long in the band I ever played with. I never had no problem with a band I played with. Got fired or nothing like that. Yeah, Willie Dixon. I didn't get fired from Willie Dixon band. I got tired of just playing, and they would let me sing. So I played 6 months with Willie, and I just quit and went back down to Teresa. Yeah. So it was, so that CD is now nominated for Grammy. Yeah.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So it's nominated. Yeah, I'm nominated for Grammy Award for my Teardrops Magic Slim album, and a tribute to Magic Slim. I hope you will support and Magic Slim and vote for me, for the January the 4th. So you can get a ticket to see the Grammy announcement, the Teardrop for Magic Slim live performing at Rosa Lounge. So on December the 27th at 8 p.m. So you go to IVEWMUSmusic.com to get your ticket, and so you can see it. Yeah.
Is John McDonald in that band too?
John McDonald, all the teardrops. All the teardrops in the band, yeah. John McDonald, Earl Howard, Danny O'Connor, Lenny Medium, which is my drummer now. And so we all in that band, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, John's been on the show. I know him. He played. I had a place called the Heartland Cafe back in the day. He played up there.
Yeah.
So tell me about your current band. The current band is John Primer and the Real Deal Blues Band, and I know you're going to be at Rosa's Lounge out there on Armitage in Chicago on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that band came into being, what you guys have been doing, and what your plans are.
Well, my harmonica player, I've been knowing him, this son of Carrie Bell, the harmonica player, Steve Bell, and Louis Bell brother too. So Steve been in my band about 30 years. I've been knowing him since he was 6 years old. So he's been playing me about 30 years, and great harmonica player. And I changed a lot of like bass player now and then, but I got a bass player who play called Dave Forte. He's been with about 3.5 years. And my drummer is Lenny Media, and he also worked in Magic Slim band, played with Magic Slim too. So he been with me 13 years. And me, I use 4 pieces mostly, but sometimes I use a keyboard player too. Sometimes, yeah. But all my music got a harmonica and keyboard player on there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna do the New Year's Eve gig out there, right?
I'm doing the New Year gig, yeah, New Year's Eve, yeah, finally. Yeah.
And what are your plans with the band? Are you going on tour? Are you playing around town regularly?
Well, we play a little bit around town. All the clubs that we plays at every once in a while is Rosa Lounge. The most of the club we plays at in town, and a lot of times at Blue Chicago downtown there. And so I plays there. And every once in a while, at Buddy Guy, every blue moon at Kingston Mine, whenever I'm in town. But I travel a lot all out of town. I go for the East Coast, come to the East Coast, and go California, go to Florida, go to Germany, France. I just come from Germany all over there. And last week before last, I was down in Mexico. I did the blues down there. And I got to go back to Florida and California again coming up. But I'm going to London coming up, going to London. So I have a lot of things, places that I've been going. Yeah. I've been all over the world. Been everywhere.
John Primer, what is your favorite memory of either a show you played, a concert, or someone you played with?
Well, my memories of someone I played with was a great show when I was with Muddy, and we played live at the Checkerboard Lounge with Muddy Waters with the Rolling Stones. That was one of my favorite. And I just did another one down in Oxford, in Mississippi, and at Ground Zero. And I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I played there, and that was one of my favorite plays. The Ground Zero plays is real nice place, and I guess who showed up with Morgan Freeman was there. And I took pictures with him. I had fun with him, man. He's a great guy. Yeah. Morgan Freeman's a great guy. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I met Morgan. I was working in that movie Chain Reaction, and he was in that. And I remember having a nice talk with him. He was a wonderful guy.
Yeah, man, he is, man. He's something else. Come on, y'all. Come tell me, meet this band. I want to take a picture with them. And he grabbed me. Come on over here, take a picture. He was great.
Well, let me just, we're going to about run out of time. I want to get it straight. So if people want to get some of your music, you got the CD out, John Primer and the Teardrops Tribute to Magic Slim.
Yep.
And you're going to be at Rosa's Lounge with your band, Real Deal Blues Band, on the New Year's Eve this year.
Yeah, on New Year's Eve. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I hope I get to see you sooner or later. I don't know if I'm going out New Year's Eve. I'm pretty old.
Oh, well, they We don't get old these days. We get better.
I like that. You're
Yeah,
getting better.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, you looking good, man. You don't look
Well,
that
it's
old.
good to meet you. And I'll when are you? How often are you at Rose's Lounge other than New Year's Eve? You've been playing there regularly, I think.
Yeah, I play there pretty regular. It's like a home base for me, Rosa Lounge, and I play there maybe once or twice a month.
Well,
There.
I'm gonna come out and see you. I'm gonna stay up
Yeah,
late and come check you out.
yeah. I hope so, man. Come on by and check it out. I'm playing there Wednesday night with a special with a special guest there. Wednesday night I'm playing with this girl. I can't think of her name, but she got a good like country western band, but she kind of mixes it up with blues and stuff. So
Oh,
they
I like
invite me
that.
to be a guest to play with them. So and they're very good. Yeah, yeah.
Well, okay, John Primer, thanks a lot for joining us on Live from the Heartland, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. I got a lot more questions. I got a stepfather was out of Mississippi. Uh,
Mhm.
check out where Camden is in relation to Belmont.
Yeah. All right, man. That's cool. Yeah. So yeah, just hey, all I gotta do is vote for him and see can I win this Grammy for the Teardrop, Mad to Slim Teardrop, the best traditional blues album of the year. So I hope I get voted in there and win the Grammy. So
I
keep,
hope you do too, my man.
keep my fingers
Okay,
crossed.
thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Y'all have
We'll
a
see you
blessed day
soon.
now. All right.
Everybody, stay tuned. We're going to be right back with more Live from the Heartland. Stay tuned
All,
here on the left end of your dial.
all right now. Have a good day now.
Thank you very much.
Ya no quiero más decir de dónde vengo, a dónde voy. Ya no quiero más decir de dónde vengo, a dónde voy. Quién yo soy.
You want to know where I'm from? My native ancestors were here at least 23,000 years ago. I'm from here. I'm from everywhere.
Ya no quiero más decir, ya no quiero más decir de dónde vengo, a dónde voy. Quién yo soy. Ya no quiero más decir, ya no quiero más decir de dónde vengo, a dónde voy.
Welcome back to Live from the Heartland. I'm Michael James here in Chicago. And those of you who listen regularly or view the show know that periodically I talk about El Paso and going down there. And when I first went to El Paso, probably in 2002, I had the honor of meeting this young fellow named David Romo. And recently I found some photographs of him when we went across to Juarez, and I sent them to him, and he sent me back, a little greeting, and then had a link to an article he did, which was basically about the sordid, backward, terrible history of barbed wire on the border. And I got a hold of him, and I said, "How about coming on the show?" And I had been very impressed with you, David, when we first met, and you had just come out with a book called "Ringside Seat to the Revolution," and it was like the Mexican Revolution viewed pretty much from up high on buildings on the El Paso side of the Rio Grande. And and it was Cinco Puntos Press. Our friends there put out the book. It's really got a lot of great pictures and a lot of information. But you didn't leave it at that. You've been doing more, and you just had an article that showed up in the Washington Post. How did that come to be, and what's the article called, and what's it about?
Yeah, it's the first time I write for the Washington Post. I just got a letter from the editor of Metropolis, Aaron Weiner, and he just invited me to submit something. So just recently, I was going through one of the neighborhoods in El Paso, and a friend of mine saw all the barbed wire that Governor Abbott has put up just in the last few months. And this friend of mine said, "Man, this feels like Normandy, right? This is a war zone now. It's not our city anymore." And when she said that, I said, "Okay, Normandy, yeah, that's one of one of the historical connections that I see, but there's so much more to it. And I just pitched this article to the Washington Post, and I don't know if you want me to draw you point by point, but yeah, they liked the idea, and it just came out last week. Very current.
What is the actual title of the article?
It's the long, ugly history of barbed wire on the U.S. Mexico border.
Yeah, and you go way back. I mean, you know, I've been going to El Paso now on a regular basis since 2002, and it's pretty sad to me to see that wall that as you drive west toward New Mexico or the other way, you know, they got these great big steel girders. And I don't know, I'm sure people still get over them with ladders and things like that, but it's really just not a very good feeling it gives one about being an American and our relationships with other people in other countries. And so you're down there and you see it all the time. So it's not just those big steel walls that are built, but now they've got along the river, they've got all kind of barbed wire. And in your article, you make connections to Nazi Germany, to other places in the world. Basically, why don't you fill us in on how barbed wire has been used to separate people, keep people enclosed, to just do terrible things?
Well, barbed wire was invented to prevent movement, but originally it was to prevent movement of animals, cattle. So
it is in Illinois, I understand.
In Illinois, that's correct. It's a farmer by the name of Joseph Glidden. Obtained the first patent in 1874, and yeah, they were trying to keep cattle in their place, but it had a lot of repercussions because it was a very effective way of fragmenting Native American lands. Native Americans, by the way, called it the Devil's Rope because it basically destroyed their traditional hunting grounds. Ranchers, they would snip the barbed wire so that their cattle could roam freely. You have Mexican American villagers in New Mexico that would also snip the barbed wire of these Anglo land speculators that were taking away their communal lands. So from the very beginning, it had a very negative connotation. Later, it's used to create what at that time people called concentration camps. So I actually didn't write about the connection of Nazi Germany. When you think of barbed wire in its ugliest uses, you think of no man's land in World War I, or you think of course, the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. And I didn't even go that far because from the very beginning, the first time that barbed wire is being used as part of the border, at least there were calls for it, was back in 1904. And so back then, the so-called illegal immigrants were not the Mexicans, because Mexicans could cross back and forth freely. It was the Chinese immigrants. So the 1882 Chinese exclusion law, that's the first time that a group is excluded from the United States based on their nationality or ethnicity. So a lot of the Chinese, in order to circumvent the surveillance in the Pacific coast, they would come down through Mexico. And today, history is repeating itself.
It sure is.
There is a lot of Chinese migration that is going through Mexico for the very same reasons. So I talk about how in 1904, there really hadn't been any calls to use barbed wire in the border, but it had already been used in places like Cuba and like the Philippines and South Africa. So the three major empires that were fighting all these colonial wars at the turn of the 20th century were Spain in Cuba during the Cuban Revolution. You had Jose Marti who was there. And so in order for them to put down that revolution, they basically, the Spanish Empire basically put everybody in a concentration camp, surrounded by barbed wire. And we don't know the exact numbers. I quoted a conservative estimate of 60,000, mostly women and children and the elderly, died in these concentration camps. The United States criticized that, but very soon, like within like a handful of years, they were using it in the Philippines. And the brutal repression of Aguinaldo's revolt and the people of the Philippines rebelling. So they did the same thing that the Spaniards had done in Spain. And the estimates are about 11,000 people that died in those concentration camps. And pretty much at the same time, and most people, I think, erroneously believe that the first concentration camps were by the British in South Africa during the Boer War. And about 30,000 people died in their concentration camps. And the majority also were women and children. So that's part of kind of the underground, unknown history of barbed wire. It wasn't until 1916 that you get a National Guardsman, Vanderbilt from New York. He leaves his mansion on Fifth Avenue. He is the great grandson of the Gilded Age of Vanderbilt, right? One of the kings of the railroad empire, and he proposes a 2,000-mile fence, not only a barbed wire fence, but a high voltage barbed wire fence. So he wants to just electrocute the heck out of the, as we were called back then, the greasers, right? That was the racist term that they used for Mexicans at that time, and Mexican Americans. And so while I was doing research for this article, I myself hadn't heard about the even more brutal history of high voltage electrified barbed wire fences. So this guy got his idea from the first barrier between, at that time it was between the Netherlands and Belgium, and it was one of these German fences that was electrified by 2,000 volts. So about 3,000 people get killed trying to cross back and forth. And we're talking about World War I, not World War II. And so the Americans are looking at what's going on over there and saying, hey, why don't we bring it down to the border? So, I mean, I go into a whole bunch of different examples of this. But at the end of the day, at the end of my article, I said, well, remember when Trump, he wanted to put some alligators in a moat. I don't know if you recall that, right?
Yeah.
It's a crazy idea. And then the other idea is like, why don't we electrify the fence? And I said, well, Trump, if he thought he was coming up with something new, he was like a century too late, right? People had already thought those crazy ideas back then.
Well, David, didn't they have alligators in El Paso in a pond in a park?
In a pond, not a. Yeah, the Mexican American community knows it as La Plaza de los Lagartos, Alligator Plaza, because there used to be a fountain there with some alligators that go back to the 1890s. They replaced them, of course, but back in the 1890s, there was someone from Florida gave a gift to the city of these tiny little alligators in a cigar box, and the city leaders didn't know what to do with them, so they put them in the middle of a fountain in the downtown plaza, and that became known as Alligator Plaza. But they were not as crazy as what Trump wanted to do, was to put them in a boat so that they could, eat up immigrants.
Well, David Romo, talk a little bit more about today and the kind of measures that this pretty right-wing governor you have down there in Texas. Although I think you're living in New Mexico, right?
I'm right in the corner. You see El Paso, you can just go like 3 miles, not even 3 miles from downtown. And there's that corner there that has, it's called Monument Marker number 1. So you have New Mexico and you have Texas and you have the state of Chihuahua. And you can literally like step and be in all 3 states almost at the same time.
I actually was there once with one of the guys from Basketball in the Barrio, and he told me to go over the stones. And the next thing I know, the border guards were there.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
They got me. They were going to take me back, but it all worked out okay. Anyhow, let me get back to the topic at hand. Share a little bit about the extent of the barricades that have been built along the Texas border by the governor, Abbott, and a little bit about the general situation that you're seeing on the border these days.
Yeah. So by the way, that place that you went to when you were down here for Basketball in the Barrio, Now you can't get to it because there's a private wall that was built by these crazy extremists under the direction of what's his name, Steve Bannon.
Oh
Remember, he
yeah.
got in trouble for committing fraud. Yeah, it was that whole group. So now there's a fence that you can't even walk to that place anymore. And that to me, that was part of how these fences, these wars that are being fought by people in Washington, end up affecting our daily life. Because I mean, that was part of when people like yourself and others would come, I would always take them there. I thought that was just like the greatest spot. And now, I used to ride my bike there. So the fence has totally encroached upon our daily lives. So it's not only affecting immigrants, but it's affecting all of us. I mean, it is so militarized down here. So yeah, I live far away from the river. I'll go jogging, and I'll have helicopters kind of hovering over me, trying to figure out if I'm running because I'm a migrant or what, right? So there's the sense that we are an occupied zone. So just I think if not today, just in the last couple of days, there's going to be a decision for the police, the Texas police force, to be able to stop people and declare it a crime. What used to be a federal civil infraction is now going to be the Texas, I believe, a felony, if I'm not mistaken. Just the simple act of crossing the border, right? There's been all these skirmishes between. At one point, like there were a large number of people that were being pushed back towards the barbed wire by the Texas National Guardsmen, and there were a lot of injuries. And I think in a few cases, the Border Patrol intervened and snipped some of that wire to help out some of these immigrants that had been injured. And we're talking about deep injuries, in their back. This is racer wire. It's concertina wire that was created during World War One. So there's all kinds of. It reminds me of these fence wars that I talk about, right? So there's all kinds of chaos. But the worst thing is that this place has been uglified. I mean, this place just feels like occupied America to us. There's a zone, which is a kind of, in my feeling, a no man's land. But it's been so normalized that some people don't even notice it. That's the price we have to pay. And the truth is that most of the people, most fronterizos, are already seeing whether whether we've been here for generations or not. We're seen as foreigners in our own land by these politicians in Washington. So I don't think they really care if this sense of occupation affects our communities as well.
Last week on my show, I had Congressman Chuy Garcia, and who originally came out of Durango, and he was basically talking about how they're talking about making a deal on the around Ukraine and around Israel, and trying to get some kind of changes on the border, and that the Latino caucus in the House is not at the table. They're not even being consulted.
Oh man.
And it's so I think that's got to come to light a little bit more. But what's the general feeling? You said some people kind of become immune to the situation, but how do other people see it? Whether it's Latinos or Mexicans, or whether it's whites or blacks, how do people down there see what's going on, and do they feel a threat? I was down there this summer, and a lot of people seem concerned about it and is sympathetic to the situation, but I don't know where it's all at. And obviously, it's going to have a lot of implications and ramifications in the November 2024 election.
Yeah. So there was this crisis in December where thousands of immigrants, mostly from Venezuela, Colombia, Nicaragua, they came and everybody was unprepared. The city didn't have any shelters. And I remember La Sociedad Civil, civil society, just kind of took it upon themselves. And you saw hundreds of El Pasoans just show up with food and blankets and, tamales, and because people were going to freeze. I mean, it was below freezing. And these are people from South America, right? From Colombia that aren't used to those kind of freezing weather. And I just remembered feeling I volunteered in one of the shelters, Sacred Heart Church, which is right in the middle of Segundo Barrio, which is known as the Ellis Island of the border. And I just remember seeing hundreds of volunteers just serving the immigrants, right? Serving
Yeah.
pizzas. And,
That was my sense, that there was a good vibe around it at some point.
right. And then it just kept on getting more and more politicized. I mean, I just see us as as being just pawns to these politicians. They're just playing with people's lives, and yeah, of course, you get Abbott coming in and shipping people from El Paso, and the local mayor wanting not to declare it a federal emergency case, because once you do that, then you have Abbott bringing in the National Guards, and that's when they bring in the concertina wire. So, these politicians don't give a crap. They just want to use people to make their own political points and to drive wedges between people. And unfortunately, in some cases, it works. I mean, Abbott, in his cruel and vicious way, was brilliant to bus people from El Paso and other places to
To
cities.
Chicago.
Right.
We're dealing with it big time up here. I mean, it's a serious issue now.
Yeah. And these guys are, they have their think tanks churning ideas for them on how to make things as ugly as possible. So now you have Trump calling immigrants all sorts of things, that they're going to poison the blood of the nation. And yeah, I'm a scholar. I read Mein Kampf in the original in German, and he's using those same words. And I believe it when I hear these, when I read these stories about how Trump kept Mein Kampf, Hitler's book, on his nightstand right before he became president, because he's repeating those phrases almost word by word.
Do you see any shift in the electorate in Texas? I mean, I've been hearing for 20 some odd years that it was going to shift to blue, and but Beto didn't pull it off against Abbott, although he came close when he ran for Senate. Do you see any good signs down there politically?
I mean, El Paso has always been to the left of almost all of Texas. Most of the border has been a Democratic section of Texas. South Texas, you have people that are, especially among these conservative Republican, the Latino vote, that is shifting more and more towards the Republicans. And I just see that as just really sad. I mean, when people can convince you to forget your own history and to take the sides of the colonizers, that kind of mental colonization is a huge victory for the other side, right? So that's how I see them. I see a lot of these Mexican Americans that have taken the side of people that oppress their own communities. And unfortunately, I mean, what I'm reading is the same thing you're reading. It's happening even among the African American community. And to me, that's the worst forms of colonization. That's how
Yeah,
I
I
see
don't
it.
know if it'll hold. We'll see. I'm an optimistic kind of a dude in a lot of ways. Dave, we're going to run out of time, so I'm going to invite you back on the show. Tell me the name of your band, and then next time you come on, let's talk music.
All right. Yeah, the name of my band is Los Liminals. So to be liminal means to be an in-between person, right? To be neither here nor there and simultaneously from both sides.
All right. Well, it's great talking to you. I'm so glad we're back in touch. I want to thank you, David Romo, and I want to thank John Primer, the blues man, both for being our guests. I want to thank our engineer, Hal James, our music producer, Lynn Orman, the other producers, Tom Clark and Katie Hogan. We'll be back next week. Do good.